My comment section is full of women telling on their reality, and I am not interested in that being where it ends. I have a video still going viral at 60-something thousand views I made based off of the podcast episode, The 2 Moments That Ended My Marriage to a Narcissist. Right now, there are over 500 comments. The 3 most common ones that are being commented are, "This happened to me," "This," "Thanks for sharing," and then women sharing their experience. And I want you to know why I don't celebrate that. I am not the coach that wants to go viral. When abuse content goes viral, women feel safe enough to type a sentence, but not enough to reach out for help, and that tells me they're stuck. They are still inside it, bonded, managing, still trying to survive the day without setting him off, still making decisions around consequences. Now, I am not saying that to shame anyone. I know what it takes to reach out to a stranger on the internet, or to admit anything when you're living inside of fear and confusion, what it costs to name it even privately. I know what your nervous system does before it tells the truth. What I'm saying is this: commenting "this is me" under my content does not change the experience you are currently having with a narcissist or an abuser. It does not move your body, build your plan, create safety, close a door, heal a wound that keeps you attached, and it doesn't change what happens when you're alone at night. If you listen to my content, my podcast, you've heard your story, you already know the truth. You don't need another post to agree. You need actual help. So this episode is just that, because the internet loves to shame moms for staying, and people refuse to understand what moms are actually doing. Moms stay to protect their kids, because the risk of leaving can be terrifying that outsiders cannot compute. The fear isn't only, will he be mad? It's what happens when you leave and your kids have time alone with dad, when you're not there, when you cannot watch his mood, when you cannot de-escalate, when you cannot protect them from what you've been buffering for years. That fear is debilitating. It makes you a mom who understands all of the consequences. People want women to leave like they're leaving a gym or their job or their car. In those situations, leaving is an action. You walk away and it's done. You're not emotionally bonded to a car. Your nervous system isn't wired to your gym. Your identity isn't entangled with your job in the same way. You don't love your car. You don't share a child with your gym. You don't have a trauma bond with your workplace. In an abusive relationship, leaving is not only logistics. It's withdrawal, grief, panic, your body screaming for the familiar even when it hurts you. It's the fear of retaliation, of what he'll do when you're not there, of being painted as a problem, the system not protecting you in the way that you thought it would, the thought of your kids paying the price for your decision you made to save them. It is risk management either way. I mentioned risk management in the episode, The 2 Moments That Ended My Marriage to a Narcissist, and it happens for every person, but for moms, it feels different. One moment is the emotional exit, where you close the emotional door to your abuser. You are done inside yourself. Your body knows. The second moment is the escalation you cannot unsee, something that changes the risk math. It can be physical. It can also be an increase in volatility, something with him involving the children. It's a moment you realize staying is no longer an option. My emotional exit happened in a therapist's office. She asked him to name one thing that he likes about me, the human, not me, the mom, not me as the cleaner, the cook, the provider, me, the person. I spent 40 minutes staring at a clock while he couldn't name a damn thing. My body was done there. That was a door closed. I didn't need another conversation. I watched the mask fall off and I couldn't put it back on. My escalation moment was when he locked me out of the house while he was being verbally abusive and aggressive to our son. That is not a moment that you rationalize your way out of. It's not a moment you file under a bad day. It's not a moment that you hope changes. It is a hard line. There will be a point where you realize you are not managing a relationship, you are managing threat. Now, people hate this part, but the cost is playing the long game. Nobody wants to hear it. They want a quick exit, the highlight reel version where you leave and everything suddenly gets better. They want to repeat the same words you've heard 1,000 times before. Just leave. Go no contact. If he wanted to, he would. You teach people how to treat you. All of that cute shit that makes people feel smart while they say nothing that actually protects you. Here's the truth. Narcissists will drain you. They want you exhausted, confused, unsure, and so full of fear you cannot logically make a next move. They want your nervous system fried, your brain so busy trying to survive a day that you cannot build an exit. They want you to feel like every option is too dangerous, too expensive, too impossible. That's how the control holds. And what it costs you is more than just your nervous system. It's your sleep, your appetite, your ability to think clearly, regulation, identity, your voice. And it costs you your future if you stay in it long enough. Now, without nervous system stability, without someone safe to talk to, the cost will always be you. And that is the part that people don't want to talk about because it feels shameful. You start losing yourself in such small increments over time that you do not notice it until you look back and you cannot find the version of you that used to be alive. I've mentioned my parents' marriage a couple of times now, but my mom stayed for 17 years thinking she was protecting me and my sister. I remember everything. The fighting, the energy of the house, the unspoken rules, the way behind closed doors things were different than out in the public. I was heavily involved in their divorce. It impacted my sister and I that later showed up in our lives. Me with drinking, an eating disorder, anxiety, depression, multiple abusive relationships. My sister with drugs, trauma, an abusive relationship, and sexual assault. Now, staying had a cost, not just for my mom, but for us too. And that is why I'm not interested in internet shame. I'm interested in the truth, your truth. Moms are doing risk math that people cannot see. They are choosing between two different scenarios that both will hurt. Staying can be dangerous, so can leaving. The goal really is to get safe and get free with the least amount of damage possible, but that requires strategy. This is why this just leave conversation needs to be deleted. Not because leaving doesn't matter, but saying just leave as if it's a light switch is not support, it's dismissal. If you are a mom and you are still in it and you're reading those comments, I want you to hear this. You are not staying because you love pain. You are staying because you're trying to protect your kids, and you're trying to time this in a way that it doesn't hand you over to a man who's already shown you who he is. That does not mean you will stay forever. It means you stop letting shame rush you into choices that increase risk. Risk management is very real. People assume no kids means no stakes. That is delusional. The bond is there. The fear is there. The patterns are there. Your nervous system doesn't care if you share a child. It cares what it learned inside of abuse. If you got this far and you're feeling a little sick to your stomach because you know exactly what I'm talking about, you're not listening to this like it's content. You're listening to this because you know this is your life. I'm Megan Webster, an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, and we are going to go a little bit deeper because the internet is obsessed with the visible exit and refuses to acknowledge what keeps women trapped in the first place. Risk management is not being indecisive. It's not you loving pain. It is not you trying to reduce damage inside of a situation where every single move has consequences and the person you're dealing with will punish you for making the wrong one. That is what the comments miss. They see a woman staying and assume she must be choosing it. They don't understand that a lot of women are not choosing to stay as a long-term plan. They have to choose stay for now because the timing is not safe yet. The nervous system is not stable yet. The plan is not built. And the risk of leaving right now feels like it could blow everything up. People perceive it as weakness, but it's actually strategy under pressure. The problem with having strategy under pressure is it still costs you. It costs you in your body because your body is the one that has to live in that atmosphere while your mind plays chess. Doing risk math will make you feel crazy. But you are thinking about what happens when your kid will be alone with him, when he decides to punish you financially, socially, or emotionally. And you certainly are not crazy for waiting until you have enough support, stability, leverage, evidence, and internal calm to make a move that sticks through. People want you to leave on emotion. He is counting on that. He wants you to be reactive because reactive women can be painted as unstable. Reactive women can be baited into arguments, pushed into decisions they regret later, and they can be drained. But a calm woman with strategy, a regulated nervous system, and support is fucking dangerous to him. That's why the just leave conversation is so annoying to me. They act like leaving is one choice and one action and it's done. You and I both know that it's not. Leaving is in layers. The internal exit has to happen. Your nervous system must be addressed. The plan has to be built. The shame has to be managed because shame is the thing that keeps women silent, and silence is where abuse thrives. Shame is a very quiet trap that is set inside of a bigger one. Shame is what makes you hide what's happening. It's what makes you protect him. It's what makes you stop telling the truth because you don't want to hear what people will say. It makes you stay longer because you already told everyone you're fine. Shame is what makes you break no contact and then disappear because you can't face your own failure. Shame is what turns a woman into her own prison guard, and the internet loves shame. It gives people somewhere to throw out their discomfort. It's easier for them to call you stupid or naive than to admit abuse is complicated. It's easier to tell you to leave than to admit the court system doesn't always protect women the way they think it does. It's easier for them to pretend they would handle it perfectly than to admit they have no idea what's going on inside. So when a woman happens to try to leave, breaks no contact, feels sick about it, and then lies to avoid judgment, that lie keeps her bonded longer because she loses her only shot at being held through it. This is why I do root healing. I'm not here to punish women for being human. I'm also not here to hype you up and tell you it's okay and then disappear when your body starts crashing. I will not call you empowered when you're actually dysregulated and terrified and tried to function. I create safety, and I think a lot of people think that that's soft landing. It's not. Safety is the difference between a woman staying trapped in shame and a woman telling the truth. It's the difference between spiraling alone and having someone to reflect back your reality when your brain starts bargaining. Just to be super clear, safety is not me telling you what you want to hear. Safety is me holding truth without shaming you into a shutdown. Risk management happens either way. Leaving is a risk, so is staying. The difference is staying is a slow bleed, and leaving can be an explosion. It depends on the situation, the relationship, and the person. We have to decide which is more manageable right now. We look at patterns, your nervous system, attachments, fear, and withdrawal. There are also women that do risk math when they are not moms. I had a client who wouldn't call her relationship abuse. She didn't have kids with him. People looked at her life and thought they were no stakes. They didn't share children. They lived in the same house, but there were no real ties to not just leave. They don't understand that you can have no kids and still be trapped, or that the nervous system can be tied to a person so hard that leaving feels like ripping your own skin off, or that the emotional exit is a true thing. If a woman isn't emotionally done, she can leave and she will go back. The reason why I'm so blunt about this is if you panic leave without the emotional exit, there is a very high chance of this happening. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Your body is still chasing what's familiar. When there is a trauma bond in place, it affects your mind, body, and spirit. It's wiring, it's pattern, it's attachment, and it's your nervous system knowing that he's your regulator even if he's the one that harmed you. That's why women feel worse when they first leave. Their body's shutting down. So what do you do if you're in this and you're listening and your brain keeps trying to decide if you agree with me or not? You need to stop trying to agree with me and start trying to understand yourself. All of my content, my podcast episodes, everything I do online is to show you a mirror. If you are still in it and you're living in risk management, you need two things effective immediately. You need nervous system stability and a safe place to tell the truth. Without those, your choices are not going to feel like yours. It's going to feel like panic, and panic is not a plan. I want to walk you through the 5 most common risk calculations that matter the most so you can understand what you're dealing with more clearly. The first one is escalation. The moment you pull away, the moment you stop feeding him, the moment you stop smoothing things over, the moment you start acting like you're leaving, the behavior will spike. That is a pattern. The second risk is psychological fallout, the confusion, self-doubt, overthinking, hypervigilance, sleep disruption, appetite disruption. This is where your body will start paying for the strategy. And if you do not stabilize your nervous system, you will lose yourself while you're trying to time your exit perfectly. The third risk is leverage. In abusive relationships, one person will use whatever they can to keep you close. It might be charm. It might be threats. It might be guilt. It might be a smear campaign. It could also be kids, money. The mechanism changes, but the intent doesn't. The fourth risk is isolation. The longer you stay, the more alone you will become. You stop talking, you stop asking for help, you stop telling the truth, you stop trusting your own perceptions, and you start managing everybody else's comfort by pretending you are fine. Isolation is where abuse grows. The fifth risk is time. This is one that hurts to say out loud for a lot of women. The longer you stay, the more time your nervous system spends adapting to chaos, the longer your healing will take. There is no instant reset here. Your body doesn't erase years of stress response because you had one good week. That is risk management truth. It's why I don't tolerate the just leave language. It's lazy and dangerous, and it shoves women towards shame instead of support. For a lot of moms, myself included, they stay because keeping access to their kids while they still can makes more sense, so they can keep an eye on the dynamics because they know what happens when they're not there to clock the tone, buffer the edge, redirect, soften, and reduce exposure. They're watching the ways that control shows up because the nightmare isn't just what they do to them. It's also what could happen to their children. With a man who's already shown controlling behavior with no witnesses, no interruption, and no protection. That kind of bind is real. If you're a mom and you are listening, you already know what it's like to live 2 moves ahead. You don't get to make a choice that only affects you. Your body is carrying a nervous system that isn't even yours. And you're trying to time an exit so your child is not handed the cost without you there to buffer it. Now, that does not mean you stay forever. It means you're managing consequences while building a move that doesn't create a worse situation for anyone. I don't say these things to turn it into fear. I'm saying it because playing the long game has a cost. If you are someone that takes in a lot of abuse recovery content, you are probably fully aware of your reality. Awareness matters, but it doesn't break anything on its own. It helps you finally see it, helps you recognize what's going on in your body, but it doesn't shift you out of the trauma bond because your nervous system doesn't change because you learned what it means. It changes when your behavior changes inside of activation. That is the difference between staying stuck in abuse and setting yourself free. Breaking the pattern is behavioral and nervous system based. I talked about this in the last episode. It's what you do in the bad hour, not just on the good days. It's no longer apologizing, explaining, justifying, rationalizing, or chasing anything. The real work lives in that exact moment, because that's where you either feed the bond or you start starving it. As someone that is a sober human, I can honestly say that addiction to alcohol and addiction to a human being through abuse feels exactly the same. Most women are not taught how to handle these moments. They are taught how to block a number, post a quote, tell themselves something nice like an affirmation in the mirror. Nobody teaches you how to survive your own nervous system when it starts bargaining, how to stay inside the sensation without feeding it, how to get you back within range while not using him as your regulator, how to stop leaving yourself the second discomfort shows up, how to stop running from your patterns, your wounds, and your attachment. That is the internal exit, and that is what's going to change your life. So if you're listening and you've been commenting, "This is me," under videos, please stop outsourcing your healing to content. You using the comment section as confession and calling that movement for yourself isn't actually true support. My job is not to tell women what to do. It is to create safety, hold truth, and respect the process long enough that a woman can arrive at her own decisions without being shamed into silence. Most people have never had that. They have people who judge them, question them, make remarks, make comments, but don't offer actual space where they can tell the truth, gather what they need, and stop abandoning themselves in the process while they do it. I will respect whatever stage of abuse you are in, and I will not pretend the goal is to stay. If you think you should already be over it because you're smart, successful, you read the books, and you still miss him, you are not broken. Your nervous system is bonded, and your pattern is active. That's conditioning. That's wiring. If you left and you went back, or you broke no contact and you feel sick with shame, you don't need punishment. You need a plan, a safe space, someone who's going to understand the internal exit, not just the physical one. If this episode hit you in the throat and you know that's you, please do not sit in my comment section and call that helping yourself. Do not collect "this is me" moments like they are progress. If you've heard yourself in this episode, you are not at the point where you need more content. You need actual support. Whether you are still inside of it, or if you've left but your body is still acting like the threat lives in the room, or maybe you're getting pulled back in by shame, panic, hope, or the need to be sure, you need support that's going to understand risk management and the internal exit. The RRR membership is where we do the real work. Root level behavior patterns, healing the wound underneath of it so you stop repeating the pain in a new package. Or if you want my eyes on your relationship and your situation specifically, book a private call. Both links are in the show notes. This episode is being sent with a ton of love, but if you are one of the women who commented "this is me" under one of my videos and your heart started pounding when you typed it, please send me a DM on Instagram. This is not to trauma dump. It is to tell me that you are ready and I will help you start. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast. Hit follow so you do not miss the next one. Please share this with another woman who needs to hear the truth without being shamed for it.